Welcome back, guys, to Ace Attorney Investigations 2 Prosecutors Gambit, where last episode, after finding the tunnel in Knight's cell and realizing the Carcerato may have made his escape, we inform Lagarde before being asked to continue our investigation, heading to the maximum security cell to question its occupant. Beating Gavel and Winner there, we again started a war of words between our opposing factions before revealing the murder weapon to be within Kanis' dog's mouth, the pocket chisel, as we now hear the assassin's testimony. If you would be so kind. Gladly. Kanis' defense. Perhaps you might begin by explaining what you believe my motive to have been. I never knew this knight. I had no contact with him, no connection whatsoever. Given that this is the case, why would I possibly wish him dead? Could it be you are suggesting that it was my canine companion who had the motive instead? Helmet only bears his fangs when I tell him to. I am not so bloodthirsty that I would kill a man I did not know. I mean, when he puts it that way... An assassin who only kills his acquaintances, not the soundest business model, I agree. My work required me to deal with strangers, of course, but murder for its own sake, that's not my style. So I need to prove a link between Knight and Kanis. I should go over the evidence again and see what I can discover. I mean, your chess correspondence? Maybe? Perhaps you might begin by explaining what you believe my motive to have been. Hold it! I'm puzzled by this focus on motive. Aren't you an assassin? Assassin or not, Mr. Edgeworth, I don't spill blood for nothing. Neither in a professional nor in a private capacity. That's just not how it's done, is it, boy? No, it's not. I never knew this knight. I had no contact with him, no connection whatsoever. Hold it! You didn't know who he was. That's quite unlike you, Mr. Kanis. You overestimate me, Mr. Edgeworth. Perhaps you had a harder time putting me in here than I had realized, but I am no master criminal. That said, you are no run-of-the-mill prisoner either. You're the fixer, correct? I find it highly unlikely that a man in such a position would have no knowledge of the new detainee at all. Then you have a rather inflated idea of my position. I have my connections, yes, but I am not all-knowing. And I knew nothing of Mr. Knight. Given that this is the case, why would I possibly wish him dead? Hold it! I think that statement before was the one I need to go at, by the way. You're an assassin. Since when have you needed a motive? He's a strange man, isn't he, Helmet? Yes, he is. Is he a fool? A genius? It's so hard to say. Objection! Drop the act, Mr. Kanis, and answer the question. No, you will answer mine. Who am I, Mr. Edgeworth? I am the very same person you caught. An assassin, a murderer for hire. Were I one to kill without rhyme or reason, I would still be free to recite sutras in peace out there. Could it be you were suggesting that it was my canine companion who had the motive instead? Hold it! Of course not, but your dog was trained to kill. What is this man talking about, Helmet? Why would he say such an awful thing about you, He is a silly man, that's what he is, yes. And perhaps he killed the wrong person. That would explain the lack of motive. Do your precious police dogs attack people willy-nilly? Have some respect, Mr. Edgeworth. If you are going to accuse Helmet of something, at least show us some evidence to back up your claims. I would if I had any. Helmet only bears his fangs when I tell him to. Hold it! Then you must have done so, didn't you? You ordered Knight's death. Oh, Mr. Edgeworth, you'll have to try harder than that. Have you forgotten what I just said? I did not know Mr. Knight. I did not even know that name. If you are going to insist otherwise, then the least you can do is show us some sort of proof. He must show us some proof, mustn't he, Helmet? Yes, he must. Whether it was Kanis or his dog that committed the killing, Knight wouldn't be dead if Kanis himself hadn't wanted him to be. So my first order of business would be to prove that Kanis and Knight knew each other. Which is definitely this statement. I never knew this Knight. I had no contact with him, no connection whatsoever. Probably your correspondence chess. That must be what I'm doing, right?
Objection!
You're getting sloppy, Mr. Kanis. You may have trained your dog to clean up your mess, but some things still require a human touch. We found this in the victim's room. It's the record of a game of correspondence chess. What's more, the game depicted matches the game laid out on your board. What? The number of possible games has been calculated to be 10 to the power of 120, and that's on the low end. Wait, so that's 10 times 10, 120 times over, right? 100, 1,000. I give up. I mean, what do you even call a number that big? A vanishingly unlikely coincidence, that's what. Now, tell us why you killed Knight. Unless that is you would rather prefer to explain the coincidence. Well, they do say the truth is stranger than fiction. It is, as you say, a coincidence. But that's totally impossible. We just proved that. A coincidence of a different kind, child. I never imagined my correspondent was the victim, you see. And yet here we are. Helmut is as surprised as I am, aren't you, Helmut? Yes, yes. Knight was playing correspondence chess against Kanis. Did the two have some sort of connection? We can't necessarily prove. Just to completely... Wait. Is any of that in Braille? I suppose there's nothing for it but to finally tell the truth, boy. The other prisoners had all gone to the yard, you see. There was a show of some sort, I believe. Here I was, minding my own business, when in comes Helmut, dragging a corpse of all things. I had quite the shock, not least because the murder weapon was still in the poor fellow's neck. Of course, I was none too keen on becoming a suspect, so I had Helmut take the body to the workshop. Once there, he removed the murder weapon and brought it back to me, just as I had asked. The dog pulled out the murder weapon in the workshop. Indeed he did. Removing it here would have made an awful mess after all. You know something that makes total sense. Remember what Mr. Sawyer said, Mr. Edgeworth? That huge black dog had sunk his terrible teeth into the victim's throat. What did you just say? It was hellish, utterly hellish. That beast, that awful beast, he killed him. I see. So what Mr. Sword actually saw was Helmut removing the murder weapon then. Precisely. I can't say I wasn't a little disappointed that he was spotted, of course. Silly boy. It's not like you to slip up like that, is it now? Well, to be honest, Mr. Sword shouldn't have been able to see it no matter what if it weren't for a few other circumstances. And there you have it. That is about all there is to tell. I did not kill the man. At most, I am responsible for the removal of the weapon. Now, will that be all? Poor Helmut is growing restless.
Objection!
Sorry, but if you could entertain us for just a little longer, Mr. Kanis. Fender? No offense, Palio, but I don't think you've quite told us everything. I'm sure we'd all like to know why you thought you needed to pull the chisel out in the first place. He's right. It makes sense that he would move the body to avoid suspicion, but Kanis had no reason at all to recover the murder weapon. So the mute one isn't as dumb as I thought. Please answer the question, Mr. Kanis. It was because of the bell. The one attached to the chisel, and the one around Helmut's neck. Have a very distinctive design, if you will. Of course, they were something of a trademark of yours, were they not? I don't get it. How does that even work? What did harm at Kanis, the blind butcher? His appearance was always announced by the sound of bells. The last sound his victims would ever hear. You flatter me. Though it's been some years since you last saw one of them, you remember them well. Your knife and its attached bell were one of the pieces of evidence seized in our case against you. Yes, it was but one of my bells. One of only two in existence. Just two. 2 and only 2. 1 for my knife and 1 for my beloved helmet. Exquisitely crafted. Utterly unique. My ears are my guide, after all. And I must be able to use my tools. Precisely. Of course, as you said, the knife has long since been taken from me. Which makes it that you've attached it to that chisel even more menacing. When Helmet brought the body to my cell, I was rather surprised to hear a familiar sound. At first, I was sure that my knife had been used to do the deed. But no, a chisel. An ordinary chisel. It's certainly no assassin's blade. Nonetheless, the bell would have suggested my involvement. Compounding the matter is the fact that I am the only person in this prison permitted to use such tools. It was clear that I would become the prime suspect. So it's like a frame job. Do you know what? I'm totally willing to believe this, even though this guy is a mysterious, murderous assassin. Because he's such a good patsy, isn't he? He's so prime for it. Yeah. It's either he definitely did it and he's leading us astray, or he was definitely set up. And it really feels like the latter. It was clear that I would become the prime suspect. And so the chisel had to be removed and hidden.
Hold it!
You still claim that all you did was have the dog move the body. You had nothing to do with the killing. How could I? I told you, the chisel is not mine. You need not take my word, Mr. Edgeworth. Why not have it checked for fingerprints? Did you not pick it up? Eustace? Me? But I don't know how to check for prints. Get forensics. Oh, right. Sure thing. We got him. Fingerprints. They're Mr. Knight's. And Mr. Kanis's. Nope. Just Mr. Knight's. Oh, and forensics said there's no sign of any prints having been wiped off. Interessant. Only Knight's fingerprints. This isn't good. Should I get them to check again? Now do you see? I have never so much as touched that chisel. Helmet's carried it in his mouth. That is all. Therefore, any prints must belong to whoever had it last. Ah! So, the murder weapon belonged to the victim. Oh, that's not helpful. As I said, I have not touched the chisel. Therefore, I cannot be the killer. Or do you wish to suggest otherwise? Could have wore gloves. There's loads of gloves around the place. Every inmate has gloves. Gah, I've got nothing to counter with. I mean, I thought of one thing straight away, surely. But what could this mean? Is he not the killer after all? Is he actually telling the truth? No, he can't be. I am sure this goes without saying, Mr. Edgeworth, but if you do not find a solution to your current predicament, and quickly, I will have little choice but to relieve you of your badge. Even my patience has a limit, and I will not tolerate you throwing this investigation into chaos. Am I clear?
You've done it now, sir. She's serious.
I hate to admit it, but the fingerprints turn everything on its head. Without more evidence, I'm back to square one. Wait, something doesn't add up. A few things, actually. What would Mr. Knight have needed a chisel for? You could do a lot with a chisel, child. Break out of prison for one. Alright, then how did he get it in here? There's no way the guards would let him bring a super sharp tool in with him, right, Mr. Edgeworth? Hey, Earth to Mr. Edgeworth! You can't stand there hemming and hawing just because of a little setback. The important thing is finding the truth, you know. It doesn't matter how we get there. As long as we save Simeon in the end. Can't give up now, or ever.
Yeah, what she said.
I'll second that. You won me around with that, Kay. I'm half tempted to offer you a job for real. It's like I said, the defense never rests. Or rather, like your pop said, what do you think lies at the heart of those words, Miles? Any guesses? The heart of those words. It's like this. As defense attorneys, our client's fate rests on our shoulders. We're the only ones they can turn to. Simeon's our client, and we're the only ones who can save him. So we can't rest, not while he's counting on us. I'm not about to turn my back on your old man's legacy. Are you? Are you? Are you? I'm an associate with the defense now. No, I'm an associate with my father's firm. That's the role I have chosen, and that means that if I fail to save my clients, I have failed in my duties. I will honor my father's vision and save Simeon Saint. No matter what setbacks I face, I cannot admit defeat. If one path is blocked, I must simply find another. There we go. That's the Miles Edgeworth I know. Now let's find that new path forward. We can start by trying to figure out how Mr. Knight brought that chisel into the prison. Right, how would Knight have managed to bring a chisel in here? Well, obviously the special section of the chess set.
Take that!
Usually it wouldn't be possible to bring a metal object into this facility undetected. Because of the security gates, right? Correct, but we already know that checks at one of the gates haven't been entirely thorough of late. Namely, the gate at the entrance to the detention center. That gate is only used to scan people. Any items they bring into the facility are only subjected to a cursory check. Are you telling me that the chess set wasn't put through the metal detector? It should have been. Alas, it seems the guards have grown a little lax in that regard of late. Knight took advantage of this little oversight and had Mr. Saint bring him the chisel, hidden inside his pocket chess set. That does answer one of our questions, and it suggests that the chisel was indeed Mr. Knight's and not Mr. Canis's. Pocket chess set data has been updated in my organizer. Is there any kind of, evidence I can get? Like trace metal or something to say that was there? A fiber from the chess set on the weapon? However, we still have one rather pressing problem to address. That of the security footage in which Knight is attacked by a dog. How does one explain it if Mr. Kanis was not the culprit? But then, how do you explain his prints not being on the murder weapon? This one's a real free piper. The court, too, finds itself wanting for a satisfactory explanation.
Wait, sir! I think it might be time to show you another one of my secret weapons. Introducing secret weapon number 4, Lil V!
What sort of name is that, detective?
I came up with it myself, sir. Anyway, you can use it to analyze the video footage.
An excellent idea. Perhaps then you might finally see that I am telling the truth. Who knows if there's anything to be found, but it has to be worth a try.
Alright, want me to talk you through how to use it, sir?
Seeing as I'm not exactly familiar with video analysis techniques, perhaps I should hear him out. Why not, Gumshoe? Give me the full explanation. I've used them before in other games, but still. If you could run me through its functions, detective, that would be most appreciated. Appreciated, even. Appreciative? Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir! So basically, you just gotta do what you always do. Examine anything that catches your eye.
And I can examine things with triangle, I see.
Next up, see those controls at the bottom of the screen? The panels on the left and right let you rewind or fast forward. And you can use the middle one to pause. Get used to those and you're golden, sir.
It seems I can also press R1 to fast forward or L1 to rewind the footage. Much easier. And I can press X to pause.
When the video is paused, you can go to the previous frame with L1 or the next frame with R1. Or just use the same control panels I showed you earlier. Lastly, I'll better explain how to zoom in.
I think frame by frame is way better.
Just line up the old cursor with the area you want to take a closer look at, then use the panel on the bottom right and little V will do the rest. It's got those 2 expanding arrows on it. Can't miss it, sir.
It would appear I can zoom in by pressing square, too.
By the way, even when you're zoomed in, you can still examine stuff, just like in regular view. Also, you can make use of previous and next frame to get a good look at what's really happening. Only thing you can't do when you're zoomed in is play the footage, so there's that.
I see. Now how do I zoom out again?
Just use the panel on the lower right again, sir. See how it's gone from expanding to collapsing arrows on there? That's because you're zoomed in. And that about sums it up. Now let's fire little V up for real. Remember, just examine anything that catches your eye and you'll do fine.
The footage from Knight's holding cell. Other than the victim being attacked by that dog, I can't see what else it might show us. Suppose we're wrong. What could we be looking at instead? Could the person in the footage be someone other than Knight? And if so, could whatever's attacking them be something else too? I should keep both questions in mind while reviewing the footage.
You never know what you're going to see once you start looking at things up close. Check every detail, sir. You'll find something, I'm sure.
What in this footage seems odd? everything. Okay, there's something going on with the fingers. And also the guard hat. Someone did have a stolen uniform at this point in time. Right, well, let's pause. And then frame by frame. Wow, it's a lot of frames. Windy, 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 windy. I think there's something on the guy's hand, but I'm not certain. My god, the frames. It's like there's blood on the hand already. I zoom in with square, don't I? Wrong bit. I must be seeing things. I should take another look. And if nothing seems off at first glance, zooming in might help. The devil's in the details after all. I mean, that looks suspicious to me. I guess I only get to choose one thing that looks odd. But I want to look at all these other things. So that looks like a bloody hand or something to begin with. Then we've got like a hat on. Maybe we need to look at the more obvious stuff right now. But the fact that is clearly not a dog. Wow. Enhance. Sir, look. I suspect we may have made a critical error of judgment. What we're looking at here is no dog. This animal is not a cat, because cats are ace. It's not a pig. Looks like a bear. It's got the brown bit at the back. That's not a dog. It's a bear. What? So the paw prints the photo I took were not canine, but ursine. Which a bear is owned by Carcerato, of all people. Show paw prints made by a bear. A bear? So could that mean... Yes, I think it could. After all, who else do we know with such a pet? And if we were mistaken about the creature in the footage, it's not inconceivable that we were mistaken about the person in the footage too. Maybe there's something in there that could prove it, sir. Something that shows it was a night. It's not even an attack. You're right. We can't see the person's face, which means a direct identification is out of the question. But perhaps there's something that can tell us who they are indirectly. Indirectly? Like the mirror? Oh, yes, it's certainly worth a look. Ah, yes, remember, follow where the game wants us to go, not where we want to go. So we're definitely looking here. And it will be not too far off, I think. Frame by frame by frame by frame by frame. Maybe not. Keep pressing play. Zoom. Is that good enough? Well, there's no clear shot of her face. You can see the hat there. The figure is reflected in the mirror here too. Is that a hat? Say, doesn't that look like the hats the guards wear, sir? Oh, jeez, is that what I think it is? Have there been any reports of one of the animals attacking a guard recently? Not that I've heard of. So this may not be a guard at all, but somebody dressed as one. Perhaps this might shed a little light on the matter of the hat. We know that there's a missing guard uniform. Take that! So, no guards have reported being attacked by an animal as far as we know. But we did hear about a guard's spare uniform being stolen. Could the person in the security footage perhaps be someone disguised as a guard? Someone attempted to escape without being noticed. A guard disguise? I guess it might work. Wait, weren't we just talking about someone? We were indeed. Someone who seems to have successfully made his escape. We'd assumed that it was night in the security footage. Well, it was his cell. It's hardly a crazy theory. Perhaps, but now that we know about the hole under the bed, it is no longer the only possibility. Whoever had access to the tunnel could very well be the one caught on camera. And who was that, Mr. Edgeworth? Would you care to tell the court who you believe this person to be? The person in the security footage is...
Take that!
I believe I know who our guard in disguise is. It is none other than Rocco Casalato, the prisoner who recently escaped from this facility. I'm confident it's him because he was assigned a polar bear cub as his companion. The bear in that video is all black. Indeed, and we have evidence that explains why. Oh my! The evidence that explains the polar bear's dark fur is...
Take that!
Recall, if you will, Mr. Frank Sawyer's testimony. That's the rubber glove I dropped. Would you care to explain why it's so dirty? Oh, of course! That's mud from one of the pet treatments I've been practicing. I was giving one of the animals a mud pack right when the incident happened. I see. Around what time would this have been? Let's see. The show had already started, so around 9 AM perhaps? The thing is, the more mud I applied, the more in the zone I got, and the darker the animal's fur became. There's no trance quite like the trance one enters when one slathers an animal with thick black mud. While the circus performance was underway, he was giving one of the animals a mud pack treatment. And that animal could have been, indeed, our polar bear. Mr. Edgeworth, your latest assertion simply introduces yet another contradiction. The footage from the security camera... I fully understand, Your Honor, and your doubts are entirely justified. Mr. Sawyer had mentioned applying the mud pack while the circus performance was underway, and this does indeed introduce a new contradiction concerning the security footage. It does? Yes, let's put it this way. When would you expect the footage to have been recorded, Kay? If it was taken right after he applied the mud pack treatment, it should have been around 9 AM. In which case, something isn't right about the footage. Really? And what's that? What new contradiction does the security footage introduce relative to when it was recorded? I mean, I guess I'm looking at literally anything here regarding this.
Take that!
Mr. Sawyer said he administered the treatment at around 9 AM, in which case the security footage should also show a time of around 9. However, the timestamp says 6:42 AM. On the day of the murder, the prisoners all went out to the yard to watch the circus. All except 3, Mr. Kanis, who remained in his cell in maximum security, Mr. Sort, who was administering a mud pack treatment in the workshop, and Rocco Casalato, who had been awaiting that precise moment to put his escape plan into action. I believe he entrusted the bear to Mr. Sword before entering the tunnel. And the bear then slipped out of Mr. Sword's grasp to run after its human. Mr. Sword would have then left the workshop to pursue the bear, at which point he saw Mr. Canis's dog retrieving the murder weapon from Knight's body. It all fits perfectly, except for the security footage, which should have been recorded from around 9 AM. However, the timestamp is 3 hours off. But why would the timestamp be wrong? Detective, I would like you to have the security camera examined right away, please.
I'm back, sir. I just talked to the guards and... Seems like the time codes can slip on these cameras if they lose power.
What?
They're pretty old, sir. Guess the clock stops when the power's off.
Which would mean the power was off for approximately 3 hours at some point. Would that mean that all the sensors, all the metal detectors, everything was off? That there was literally free roam of this place for a period of time?
That's not all, sir. You remember how Knight denied stealing the keys? No one believed him, considering, well, you know, he seemed kind of like the only suspect. Turns out that wasn't all he said. He also said he was knocked out cold, just like the other guy.
Which may not necessarily have been a lie. Darlings, there you all are. How goes the investigation? Is there anything I could do to help things along?
Actually, there might be something we can do for you, Warden Lagarde. The escapee, Mr. Carcerato, I believe he may still be on the premises. He is disguised as a guard. Here's the proof, should you need it. We're reasonably certain that the person captured on this tape is our man. And if I am correct, he might even be right here in this room with us now. The guards are looking around.
Hey, Mr. Carcerato would have been wearing a bracelet, right?
Yes, a bracelet that could easily be hidden under the sleeves of his stolen uniform. Furthermore, the doors out of the prison proper don't have those sensors to detect the bracelets installed. So if he avoided doors with sensors, he could simply wait for an opportunity to finally make his escape.
Well, yes, I suppose he could. He'd just have to avoid the workshops and the cells and... Oh my. He's one of you, isn't he? He's here right now! Look, it's Teddy!
Hey, pulls off! Get your mitts off of me, you big palooka! Thank you, Teddy. Very kind of you to confirm our suspicions. Dang it, kid! If it wasn't for you, I'd, What a thing it is to be loved, Mr. Carcerato. I'm almost envious.
Guards, apprehend this man!
A moment, if you will. I have some questions for our would-be escapee. If we are to learn the truth, I will need to speak with him. With your permission, of course.
I can hardly say no now, can I?
Well, come on then. Hit me with your best shot.
So, how has he not made his escape already is probably a question, because you want to make a beeline out of it as soon as possible. How long have you been masquerading being a good boy guard? What the hell's going on? Well, so much has developed in this last episode. No dog on the block of suspecting animal. Sentence good. Just a little bear. A bear that really loves its owner. Wasn't attacking anyone. And just wanted to latch on as it usually did. It can know you. It can smell you probably from a mile away. Covered in mud as well. You wouldn't want your guard uniform dirty, but I guess that wasn't a problem. But with Carcerato here and still incarcerated in this prison as a whole, we question him next time on Ace Attorney Investigations 2. Join me then for more, and until then, I say, bye-bye.